If you ever hear a pitch from a precious metals dealer or a local coin shop to the likes of which I'm about to share with you, then you know it's time to walk away. I'll explain why and how as we explore. A member of the community made a shocking comment on one of my videos recently asking for some advice about this particular situation that he had come upon at his local coin shop. And I'm going to read it to you verbatim, but really it's about common sense and it's also about circumstance. And sometimes common sense can go by the wayside if you're in a circumstance that is above and beyond your control. Now, I'm showing you on this display here some constitutional silver because it does involve that. But in all reality, it can involve any kind of silver or any kind of product. And honestly, this advice and this circumstance can transcend beyond the precious metals world as well. Now, whenever you go to deal with a dealer, you want to make sure it's a dealer that you can trust. And I always encourage folks to make relationships with their local coin shop. I think it's actually absolutely paramount, as well as online too, because you can find deals there, and you can find trustworthy companies like Summit Metals who will not steer you wrong or give you bad advice whenever you go to buy precious metals or sell precious metals. And in this particular case, it is about selling precious metals. So experience some great customer service for yourself from Summit Metals by clicking on the link in the description below. So in this circumstance, a user, Timothy Meyer, 58, posted a comment saying that his coin shop paid him 17 times face for all of his 90% silver that he had. 17 times face, which is well below spot price. And of course, that alone really should not alarm many people, because there's many coin shops, especially right now in this current situation that we find ourselves in with refiners being overloaded, where they're not accepting any constitutional silver. They just won't take it. There's circumstances are out there, and other places are paying well under spot. So that's not alarming in and of itself. However, it is kind of a ripoff when you think about it. But considering his circumstance, it does make sense. Anyways, they explained to me why this was a fair price, because the dollar is gaining strength. The dollar is gaining strength. And of course, as I record this video, the dollar is up and silver is down somewhat. But nonetheless, they are saying this as if it's some sort of a matter of fact. And of course, the dollar does go back and forth, and so does the price of silver goes back and forth. And we've seen it largely up and surprise us here recently. But anyways, the shop owner says that silver will drop well below $38 by year's end. And of course, my jaw dropped when I heard that explanation. Totally unnecessary explanation, but of course, each shop is different. Their circumstance is different. And honestly, I'm just taken aback by that reasoning. Now, he hesitated, Timothy Meyer said, because he has pictures of Biden and Barack Obama throughout his shop, but he needed to cash in. Now, to me, having pictures of politicians in a local coin shop is a bad idea in general, but even if the tables were turned and it was pictures of Donald Trump in his office or some Republican, it doesn't matter. The advice is bad either way, and it's like this coin shop knew that silver's going to go to $38 by the end of the year. Now, is it possible? Yes, it is, but he doesn't know that for sure. But he's betting on it in order to take that silver in and to buy it. And to me, that's just horrible advice because, he doesn't know. He does not know, and he's sticking it to his customer because of what he thinks might happen, not because of what will happen. But local coin shops have ways of hedging too, and they have ways of moving product. What he should have said is that I cannot move this silver, because refiners won't take it, or they will give me next to nothing for it. So your best bet is to hold on to it or accept my offer, which is going to be much lower than what it would be in a normal market. He did not do that. He just said that silver is going to go to $38 by the end of the year, which he does not know. But nonetheless, he had to do it. He had to around 14 times face value in it. So he had enough money to get things back in order. So it was enough money to get things back in order. He had to pay some medical bills. So in other words, this person needed it for medical reasons. Now, I always encourage my viewers to have enough of these on hand so that you don't have to liquidate your silver in the case of an emergency. This is for the ultimate emergency, a currency crisis, which we're not in right now. But certainly it is troubling. It is unnerving to see the value of the dollar go down by well over 2% per year. That's inflation. And by the way, inflation's at 3% now officially, but many people feel it's a lot higher than that with how they used to measure inflation. But also, 2% inflation is still inflation. We live in a constant inflationary state, which is unnerving, which is why we hold silver and gold to protect our wealth. And of course, but not all silver is created equal, as we have found out most blaringly through this present situation, this present bull market that we've seen in silver. And so this is it. So he asked the questions, do you think it was fair or did I get ripped off? Well, you got ripped off, and I hate to say it, and it is unfortunate. I would have kept it, but he was forced to sell. He ended up doing better. He was in a predicament, as he explained to the shop owner. So the shop owner knew his predicament. He was very pleased, and he paid me in cash. No, and the thing is, he was very pleased because he got a good deal on the silver. And likely, probably, he could probably move. I don't know how busy the shop is. I don't know where the shop is. I don't know what kind of business, how much product he moves in and out of that shop. But nonetheless, if he can sell it, resell it for a profit, he will, and that's great, and that's fine. But you don't fleece the customer if you can move it that quickly. If you can't move it that quickly, he should have been honest. And he did go on to say that he bought when silver was around $16 or so. So he didn't really lose anything. What's done is done. And I understand that, but when silver was $16 an ounce, inflation was much lower then. So likely he didn't come out ahead. He probably just barely broke even. Well, I would still say he lost, even though that was done. But he sees it as a monetary increase. In other words, in nominal dollars, yes, he came out ahead. But when adjusted for inflation and the fact that he had to do it for an emergency is a different matter. And so this is why it was sort of palpable for him. But nonetheless, the local coin shop owner did a disservice to this customer, to this user. And to me, I would never deal with a company like that, with a business that does that just automatically thinks they know what the price of silver is going to do by the end of the year, and leading to people to sell in the most inopportune times. Now, again, any kind of emergency can come on that could be catastrophic, where you may have enough cash on hand, but you need to sell. You need to, because you've liquidated all of that cash, and you need to sell your silver. And in this case, it was all of his 90% silver, and it's unfortunate, but those circumstances do come. And I think that, especially knowing that this local coin shop owner knew his circumstance, he should have treated him better. He should have offered him more, much closer to spot for it, or just say, "I'm sorry, I can't do it, and for this reason." The one thing we have to understand is businesses aren't there to be charity organizations, and I understand that, but they're also not there to screw you over, and most people should understand that too. And so therefore, I think you should have just been honest with them. But again, not knowing the circumstance with the individual, I think that honestly he wasn't forthright and forthcoming, and likely, since the comment said that he was pleased and paid him in cash, means that he knew exactly what he was going to do with this silver, and he was going to resell it back to the public, because people were buying silver at the time and buying a lot of it. Of course, that's just inference on my part. I don't know that for sure, but nonetheless, it is very troubling and concerning. The moral of the story, folks, is to protect yourself. Protect yourself with enough cash if you can, but if you have to sell in an emergency, shop around. It may take a little bit more time, but it may be worth doing. You call other places if you can. Now, this may be the only shop in the area and for a 50-mile radius. Obviously, it would not be worth it to drive 50 miles to sell this silver. You're better off just selling it to them. But he knew he was in a dire situation, and he took advantage of it. This local coin shop owner took advantage of this guy. There's no other way to interpret this, in my view, because of the reasoning he gave for offering such a low price. Be wary out there. Be cautious. Be careful with dealers out there. Yes, it's good to develop relationships with local coin shops in an area, but sometimes there are some bad apples out there. I think this was a bad apple. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section down below. I'd like to extend a multitude of gratitude to you all for taking the time to watch, and thanks again to Timothy Meyer for inspiring this video. And I want to encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.